what screams rich asshole. Having mommy and daddy throw enough money around to make problems go away and get what you wanted in the end. Guy I knew growing up, and then we ended up at same college. His dad was some bigwig real estate guy, mom was a heiress to well-known brand. He was very status conscious and knew he could always buy way out of trouble. Always some shady, borderline illegal scheme to make more money, usually so he could buy himself a Rolex or shit. Anyway, our university was pretty elite, but he wanted to go to the best in his area of study, so he planned to transfer. He got like a 3.98 GPA. Couldn't by offer teacher to get an A, but because he was an entitled jerk couldn't get professors willing to write letters of recommendation, so he forged one, mailed it out, but forgot postage, and got discovered when it went returned to sender to a professor who hadn't written it. His parents flew down, made a giant donation to our school, and the administration didn't inform his intended university of his stunt. He got in, he left our school, got his best degree, and last I heard was working on Wall Street. I'm always amazed he hasn't ended up in prison for some sort of white-collar shit. Yesterday, me, my family, my cousin's family, and my grandma all had one huge combined rummage sale. For some reason, my uncle and cousin brought their boat, for they were getting a new one, and wanted to get some money by selling their, now, old one. It was a small boat, the one where you steer with the motor itself, and the husband and wife wanted to buy it. They completely lowballed, so they brought the price back up, but even then, they could have brought it up way more. Not my boat, not my money to decide. So, when doing a little paperwork exchange and checking it out, we asked what they're gonna use it for. Apparently they're hella rich, and we're gonna use this boat to clean the water around the shore, by their other boats, and for it to act as a utility boat. So, this husband and wife are quite obviously rich, really lowballed them lowballed. They wanted 1/2 price. And we're gonna use the boat to help clean around their other boats. Yes, plural on boats. They have multiple boats, and bought a whole new one, just to help clean the other ones. I got one for you. I work at a place where you can donate items. You can get a donation receipt which you can use when you file your tax returns the next year and get the tax deduction for it. If you're not in the know, the deduction reduces the amount of income that would be taxed. This is a place of charity. The people that come are donors. A lot of people that come by don't want a receipt. They flat out ask why would they even want one, and get shocked when they hear others ask, or even demand for one. But then there are the others. There's particular information we need from people. We have a system that stores returned donor information. So we need either a number or email to look the person up. Even before we start accepting donations from some of these people, the first thing out of their mouths are either their email or phone number. We need to count what they are donating so we can credit them for what they drop off. No hello, no nothing. We have people that say I need a receipt, versus I'd like one. A receipt is not a need, it's a want. Some say we're only here for a receipt. Why else would we be here? People will drop their items on the ground and expect us to pick them up like dogs. These are terrible people. They get shocked and offended when we ask them to do something reasonable, and if we say no to them, God forbid, I'd like to say more, but I don't want to give out too much information. The fact of the matter is, this is a place where you can go to be charitable, by donating items. Yes, the receipt encourages return visits, but as previously said, there are a lot of damn assholes that come by. Finally, I have a story. So I live in a pretty rich area of my city. To explain it simply, my dad made about $90K a year and we weren't even really close to the richest in my school. So yay, people's parents made bag. So when people get picked up, it can be in nice cars, It's usually just the newest cars though, not usually supercars or sports cars. But there's this one time where a Corvette is at the school. No big deal really. There is a girl that gets picked up in a G-Wagon or Lambo daily. Her parents own a Chick-fil-A. In case you were wondering, Chick-fil-A makes some serious money, but at least they aren't trying to flex their money. I mean, they are flexing, but not in a bad way. So this girl, different from Lambo girl, gets in the Corvette. Mind you, this girl hasn't been a pickup all year. Just this particular day, this man driving, probably a rich uncle, revs it up as loud as he possibly could. My friends and I standing there got super pissed at him. I'm still mad at it. No one cares that you have an expensive car. TL Dr. Rich asshole flexes car in middle school parking lot. I spent a lot of time in Wellfleet during the summer when I dated a girl from there. The summer crowd is so rich, you can classify the types of rich person. The main distinction is big money versus small money. Small money makes $270K and is a millionaire. They're a working class millionaire who has everything to prove. These are your Patrick Batemans, guys in $1,000 jeans and $9,000 Italian shoes that are snapping at the waitress and trying to get bottles served at a diner. Big money, and I met more than a couple of these guys. Are so rich, they don't have to snap fingers at a waitress. I once chatted with a man at a raw bar who had given up control of the board of directors for a major American company that you know the name of. He was wearing Oakley sunglasses, and everything else was Kmart level quality. Think nylon board shorts and a big dog tee. He paid for our meal and drinks, and got us constant service by slipping the waitress a neatly folded packet of money. Not sure how much, but it was 5+ bills, and he was tipping $10 a drink all night. One of my roommates in college was from a very wealthy family. One time he said that he wouldn't date a poor girl. Also, like 100% of his humor was just him laughing at poor people doing odd things. The way he spoke about it felt like the same way you might talk about the animals at a zoo. He's also the kind of person who would refer to poorer areas as the bad part of town, even if those areas didn't necessarily have a reputation for being dangerous. This last one is a bit more racist than classist, although it's kind of both. He was arguing that there really isn't a problem with the American healthcare system, and I pointed out that we have one of the worst life expectancies of any developed country. This guy legitimately tried to argue that it was because certain races are just predestined to have shorter lifespans, and since America's mixed, that's why our average life expectancy gets dragged down. Anyways, suffice it to say I tried to avoid him as much as I could. I have a story about a typical rich asshole. I used to work at a financial company, not top level by any means. I had training and helped people understand retirement plans and clauses. Anyway, one day a guy calls in and I can't find him through any info. After calling me stupid, we finally worked out he is calling the wrong company. So instead of being a normal person and calling other company, he becomes absolutely irate. He expected me to call the other company, because that's what I do, help people, and figure out what was going on with his account. He pulled out the "do you know who I am?" and literally said, "I could have your job and your manager is going to listen to this call and you are going to lose my business." It kept escalating and I stopped talking. It was surreal because I didn't realize people were so cringe why they said stuff like that IRL. It ended up being hilarious. I stopped talking and he rage hung up. Oddly, I did not lose my job for helping some rich asshole who called the wrong number figure out where he belonged. Honestly, the longer I was at that company, the more rich people who designed to call in said shit like that. My dad's a contractor. He takes contract and gives the work to workers. So for the current contract, he has been giving money to worker from his own pocket because the customer always paid late. For once my dad delayed money to worker. That asshole worker contacts customer without my dad's knowledge and asks her to give money, which he shouldn't. My dad's the middleman for a reason. I understand he might have been in need of money. The real matter is when the rich bitch customer had the nerve to call my dad and told him to pay the worker. She didn't pay him in the first place, goddammit. What do these rich people get from doing things like this? Can't you just hand in the money after the work's done? My father borrowed money from his friend to pay the worker. I mostly now think that there are no rich assholes. When I say this, I mean that most people who are flexing are just living outside of their means. It's funny how most people look up to the word bougie when in reality the definition of that means that you are concerned for respect to the look of having wealth. Then, there are the people that choose to spend money on a few nice things that they truly want to enjoy, which is understandable. An example of this would be one who enjoys nice watches or cars, but doesn't need to spend $500 on a Gucci t-shirt. Lastly, there are the assholes who have a lot of money. I'm not calling them rich assholes because their lives clearly are tarnished in some way. They may have a lot of money, but maybe in order to get that money many relationships were lost, maybe family. Therefore, the rich asshole is no longer living an enriched life. All they have to them is money and are using it to try and avoid the other relationship and emotional problems they may have in their life. These people are often broken, just like everyone else, in my opinion. TL Doctor, people doing abhorrent things in public and getting away with it because they look rich. Long rant below. I was riding in my city during rush hour traffic once and saw a portly looking bloke who was at least 40 getting out of a McLaren 720S in front of a fancy hotel with someone who definitely looked like she wasn't old enough to be in that situation. You could tell by the way he was interacting with her that it wasn't his daughter. Nobody was batting an eyelid, as if it was something completely normal because, hey, guy getting out of a fancy car, else should mind my own business. I was stuck next to the spectacle and a large chunk of me regrets not calling him a disgusting nonce as the light turned green. It makes me shudder to think about how that creep could get away with something like that without anyone batting an eyelid. But if it was the same situation but say, a Prius and an ordinary-looking guy, people would be confronting his sorry ass or at least glaring in disgust as they passed by. I've even witnessed an identical situation that involved a homeless bear, and people were extremely quick to grab wind of the situation and have the police called to get the girl out of that clearly predatory situation. I find it depressing that we're so willing to apply morals on those who we perceive as beneath us with an iron fist, but we hold rich assholes to a more forgiving standard, in spite of a world full of billionaires and trillionaires ruining the planet for a few extra dimes, committing literal genocides to secure resource routes and all sorts of other wartime-level crimes. It's that one gross display that to this day felt too close to home and really presented the stark reality we face. A society of double standards in which you can get away with what would otherwise be abhorrent and even criminal behavior simply because you are or you look rich. I worked at an arena for an NHL team, and the local WHL team played there, too. WHL team could pull 5,000 people on a good night, and I think the players got paid maybe $150 a week or something, all teenagers 15, 17 or so. This WHL team was shit and always lost, so it's not like it was full of future stars. One day I was taking tickets for a WHL game and this teenage girl comes up, dressed nice and wearing expensive clothes, but didn't have a ticket. When I said she couldn't go in, she dropped that line on me. "Don't you know who I am?" I said no, and she said she was the team captain's girlfriend. I said that maybe she could go to a different gate where there was a concierge desk where people left tickets in such situations. She left. I thought to myself, bitch, if you don't already know where the special entrance is, and if you don't already have a ticket in hand, maybe you aren't as special as you think you are. First thing that comes to mind is this. I was in middle school, and a group of kids were hanging out and I knew two of them, so I went to talk to them. Girl drops her phone intentionally, It was an iPhone 8, and at the time it was the newest thing, brand new phone too. She threw it on the ground again on the linoleum floor. The phone screen cracked. After that I asked why she did that because those are super expensive. She said it didn't matter because her mom would just buy her a new one. And it turns out it was an iPhone 7, but I know it was brand new at the time she had it. When I had trouble paying for college, my aunt suggested I use financial aid and proceeds to tell me how they had to lie about their income and where their daughter was staying to get it. And on the application they listed her trip to the Bahamas as mission work. They laughed because their daughter couldn't even stand to look at those dirty children, but they wrote it up like she was teaching them the Bible. And it's the awful comments that always blow up. Thanks for the silver and the other award. As an update, the aunt has come back home to steal antiques and valuables from my elderly grandfather, and she and her husband are part of a yacht club. Might actually be a sailboat. It's big, and they sail around the US doing the Great Loop, going around the East Coast, through the canal, and down the Mississippi. Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, you've probably heard of him. He refused to have a license plate on his car. A Mercedes SL55 convertible, California, allowed 6 months to get a license plate put on the car. So every 6 months he'd trade in the car for a new lease. And just in case you think that this sounds too ridiculous to be true, https://upnews.go.com/technology/Steve Jobs car Apple CEO license plates/story. It equals 1483468. I used to work in Silicon Valley and, for a while, at Apple. Steve Wozniak, last I saw about 3-4 years ago, drove a white Prius with the license plate was Ed. Come to think of it, it might have been a Chevy Bolt. It's been a while. Me and my family are Scottish. Tipping isn't much of a thing here. My mother and I aren't very well off at all. We got by, but we never got by easily. On a family holiday to New York for an auntie's wedding, which we couldn't afford and my gran had to help pay for, my mom and I were working with the backpacker's budget. We didn't eat much fancy or go anywhere expensive. At my aunt's wedding breakfast, we ate the cheapest things we could since we were all going in on a bill together. There were at least 8+ guests who were seriously high earners, lawyers, a higher up in Facebook, etc. We were expected to pay for their fucking extravagant ass breakfasts and mimosas. We didn't even have a coffee to save as it was our last day. My mother and I had given so many tips, and we didn't understand how the coins worked, so we just gave all our change to anyone we saw asking. We bought about 8 strangers coffee. You'd think us mugs, but honestly we just wanted to see some people warm up and be somewhere safe for the January morning. 8+ people who make 8 figures a year at least, got bitchy at my mom and I for demanding they tip the staff. We even made sure to clarify they understood how service staff were paid there compared to home. My future uncle-in-law really hit me with then they ought to get a better job. On top of that, they were just snide and rude to our server because surprise surprise, 10 breakfasts are hard to make in 5 minutes. The server was an angel and I ended up tipping her at 20 when we left as it was all I had spare. So this screamed rich and spoiled Evo. My godmother's granddaughter graduated from high school and they threw her a Great Gatsby-themed graduation party and she had 3 outfit changes throughout her party and her dad bragged about how he spent $2,000 on each dress and they flew the dress out from Italy. I mean, that was too much in my opinion. I'd maybe understand if she graduated with full ride scholarship or top of her class. When I graduated with my bachelor's degree I just had I graduated themed party. I was a server at a luxury members-only resort. Everyone who ate in our restaurant was a member. A member's son came in once with all his boys and demanded I sit them at a table that was already taken. When I tried to sit them at another table he tried to flirt with me and joke in attempts to sway me, I guess. I don't know what he expected from me. but I wasn't going to kick a group out who pay just as much money to be there for this guy. When I tried to show him other table options, he interrupted me to say, "But my daddy's a member." "Oh, daddy, everyone here is a member, asshole."